In the heart of the forest, legends awaken from the shadows. The tales of Sasquatch echo through time, a mystery that remains unsolved.
As the smoke clears, the sign stands resolute, a beacon of intrigue. What secrets lie within the forest's depths? The quest for truth begins at Sasquatch Watch Radio. Here's Billy Willard and Gary Kendrick.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. We are recording this show today. Today's actually Thursday, January 16th, 2025, but this show will air on Monday, January 20th, which is Inauguration Day, which I'm sure everybody's aware. So that's when the show will play. Me and Gary will be present during the showing of this recording to have, try to answer any questions you may have in the live chat. But we've got a great show for you. We have a great guest, and before I bring him in here, let me bring in our other host, Gary Kendrick. How you doing, Gary?
Hey, Billy. How are you, brother?
I'm doing fine, as long as you're doing okay after breaking a bunch of ice and shoveling.
It looks like the Pleistocene epoch. I'm waiting any minute for a mammoth or a mastodon to walk through my backyard right now.
Okay, well, let's hope that don't happen. But
yeah.
So, without further ado, we're going to bring our great guest on. Here we got Ron Morehead. How are you doing, Ron?
Well, how are you guys doing? It's great to be with you today.
Thank you so much for coming. Yeah. So we're gonna let Gary ask you some questions, Ron.
Well, I want to welcome Ron Morehead to the show tonight.
I'll be glad to answer them if I can.
Okay.
Ron's one of my personal Bigfoot heroes throughout the time. Ron's been an author. He's written several books. He's an adventurist, a pilot. He recorded the Sierra Sounds. There's not a lot that Ron hasn't done. Ron, the first thing I'd like to talk about tonight, I know everybody wants to get straight to the Sierra Sounds, but I want to talk about the Paracas skulls that were discovered in the 1920s. And you were present when the child, there was 3 mummies, the child was unwrapped, and you were present when that happened. And I believe that was in January of 2014. Can you tell us about your findings on these skulls?
Well, Gary, I didn't catch all you said, but if you're talking about the Paracas mummies, I was there in 2013 and 14, 2 different years, 2 different scientists. And the ones you're talking about was uncovered after the 1918, or was it, or when they discovered they were there. And they are elongated skulls, and we went down there and got permission to unmummify the baby one, and also we witnessed and weighed the adults. They're all found in one grave, and noticed the difference and noted the differences. And they're not totally human. Like they're only part human, and that's because the mitochondrial. Well, we don't know. They do know now, but there's no sagittal suture down there. I got one right behind here. Look at it. See it? Can you see
yes,
that?
Sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's one of the adults, and I got a child. I got the child in here too, which we took a forensic Joe Tater down there. He's a really good copycat. Got permission to mold them and to get a copy of them. So I got 1, 2 or 3 that's been made. Joe's passed away now, so I'm not sure how anybody get another one. But anyway, quite an adventure. We did on there about a month each time, maybe 3 weeks. We went up in the high mountains of Nepal. Excuse me, not Nepal. You mix up a lot of places nowadays. Went way up in the high country of Cusco, and up in another place above Cusco. Which, anyway, is quite an adventure. Seen the megalithic structures and all that stuff, and was running around with a guy called my memory fails me right now. Having a cerebrum cerebrium flatulence, that's what it's called. Oh well, for those who might know what that is, brain fart. But anyway, yes, I was done right there, and I filmed it all. We got it filmed, and just to make sure it was the sagittal suture was a single parietal, not two like we have. We have one on each side, no the suture in between. So until we find a Bigfoot, we don't know if they got the suture or not, and, or if they're from the same batch. I don't think all Bigfoots are the same. And anyway, we go into several places. I flew over the Nazca lines and did a lot of research down there. And the waded skulls are about 25 to 30% larger than a human skull. And it would have been more than a lot smarter than us, probably. It probably has some attributes we have, but we don't have to use them yet because I think they were here. A lot of them were here prior to Homo sapiens, and they have been created differently than we were. And this is my opinion, but that gets quite into deep into ancient texts and stuff like that, which I love to talk about. But all brought me to all this was the Bigfoot encounter in the Sierra Camp, and then to find out the bottom of that, what it's all about. And Al Berry, the investigative reporter, looked at me and said, "Don't talk about the strange stuff that goes on up here." A lot of it too. We didn't want to be discredited, so he mastered science, so we just held that to our chest for a long time. But I talk about anything now; it doesn't matter. A lot of mysteries associated with these things, and that we got to record it. We got to get it where it is today, which is more to the bucket list that people look for to get involved with these creatures. They're more human-like, and I kind of established that in my last book, Bigfoot Unveiled. They're human, part human anyway. They have to be, and no getting out of it if you want to believe science. Dr. Curlin, I get off the subject a little bit, but Dr. Curlin, who studied those in the late 70s, who gave a speech at Sasquatch Symposium in British Columbia, and put his report in a book, Man Like Monsters on Trial. He said they speak within the human range, they speak outside the human range, way up above and way below, according to the graph he showed in that book. And got Scott Nelson, who is a cryptolinguist, who come out and say how very nice to get the context of these sounds, so he thought he heard language in there. And he's a two-time graduate of the Foreign Language Institute in Monterey, California. His whole job in the military, the Navy, was to listen to codes or listen to languages and see if it is a code or if it's a language, is there any deception in it or what's going on. That's what he did for his career in the Navy. And when he got out, he started teaching school foreign languages. And so he heard of these by accident, came out and interviewed me and Al Berry, and found the context of it, and asked if he could study them. So he did. He came out with a statement and said, these things are speaking a sapient language like we're talking right now. And that's kind of unique. We knew they were talking to each other, but we didn't realize how important that speech was. I didn't realize it until a few years back when I read Dr. Lieberman, Brown University, professor of cognitive researcher. And he said only humans have the vocal mechanism for language. So, according to science, there it is. They have to have a human component. At least the ones we dealt with. I don't think they're all the same, so some of them might be just really accommodated and have to scream and yell to find a mate or keep you away from those little ones or whatever. But I don't know. I just know what we dealt with up there and recorded and has a human component. So that got me way back into Mesopotamia and the Sumerian texts. I started researching. I was raised religiously, Bible, a lot of that, everything that went in the Bible wasn't real. Well, you get into Sumerian text, the cuneiform text, and you find out there's a lot of stuff that's just been altered by whoever was in power, or it be Constantine or King James, whoever it was, they had their narrative that they wanted to press to keep power and to keep people in line and present fear. So I really started looking into that because it was totally against the way I was raised. So that's where I go with it, and that's what I do. I love to be on podcasts like this and get the word out. And because there's more to it, a lot more to it. Who we are as humans, and what we're supposed to be like, and what's really going on, and why some people are seeing these things and dealing with these things like we were. And a lot of people try and try and try, and they never do. And there's a reason for it, in my opinion. Whenever you guys want to know that reason, just give me a question.
Ron, I know the Paraka skulls had red hair, and I've done quite a bit of research since I first heard you talk about them. And the hair color doesn't match the native hair color in that area. And two, during either natural or artificial mummification, the hair color doesn't change. You think that played into your research on them not being entirely human?
All right. I didn't hear all you said, Gary.
I'm sorry.
But
I said
that comes through clear. But that's been analyzed, and like 1.5% of people have red hair. It's from a certain district over in Asia. My dog or your dog?
That's mine.
But anyway, it wasn't dyed. It's natural hair, and they were redheaded. They were redheaded, naturally.
And I know you did some work too in Nevada. You done some research on that, and according to the Paiute Indians, there was a tribe of red-headed giants that they hunted down and killed in the Lovelock Caves. And can you tell us about your investigation into that?
Yeah, I've been there 4 times actually, with M.K. Davis and another guy, Don Taylor, Monroe. Anyway, yeah, I went there looking for the remnants of the giants, but that place has been ransacked, I should say, over the years. You got it kind of blocked off, not blocked off, but you go in on a big platform and look around. It's a huge cave, and it's been sloughed off to blocked off to places to go there. You can't go there. Not all the caves that were there. However, we went to the museum to try to find out what's going on, see if we could see the skulls that were found. And keep in mind that place was first discovered in 1918. There wasn't archaeologists that went in there until Smithsonian sent one in 2020 something. So a lot of the artifacts have been taken out, and according to the museum, it was never there. Just sandals and a few things like that. But I got a picture, and Don Monroe gave me the picture of the skulls over there, because he's seen them before that all happened. He's older than me, if you can believe that. And he's quite the nice guy, though. You gotta love it. Anyway, I went there with MK. Let's see, I went in with L.A. Missoula. He wanted to see the handprint that we seen on this huge rock. It was a sticky, gooey stuff that was on the ceiling there, way up there. So we looked at that and actually tried to cast it, but it was pretty thin, so we couldn't get much out of it. But you can see it was on the internet. And I told the guys, I said, don't, it was Don Monroe and M.K. Davis, I said, don't talk about this yet, because you didn't have a permit to do that, and this is a government facility now, and they'd already messed with stuff. So anyway, they put it out on the internet, and it got a lot of interest because it looked like a hand, but it might have just been an inference. But it was a huge hand and looking. And so M.K. Davis wanted to go there and see what, because we went back and it was gone. And that was just a few weeks. So nobody could get a permit through our government system in that length of time. Somebody took that off, washed it off, or figured out how to get it off. So anyway, they just didn't want this rumor going around that there were giants in there. But according to Sarah Winnemucca, her book, she writes about the red-haired giants in that area, and who they Coyotes got all of them got together and they were eating them. They were cannibalistic giants. So according to the Paiutes, that's all true. We talked to the chief down there, and it's true, but BLM will deny any remains like that. And I wrote them a letter, and they just denied it outright. It's just pretty robust.
All right, go ahead, Gary.
That's some pretty serious.
Ron,
I try to ask all the guests on the show, and this is an odd question. Animal, mineral, or vegetable, do you think that Bigfoot is a living animal? Do you think that Bigfoot might be extraterrestrial or interdimensional? Or do you think Bigfoot might be spiritual?
All of the above. All of the above. They could be anything. I do believe, from my experience anyway, that they have a way of cloaking, I guess you call it, because I never knew the science behind that, if it's possible, because I never thought anything was possible. If you can't see it, it don't exist, right? Wrong. You get into quantum science, like I've done, you find that matter and energy are interchangeable. If these things have a vocal mechanism that can go up to the frequency that they would need to get to change their embodiment into energy only, they would disappear or go out of our eyesight. We only see within 430 to 770 terahertz. That's our visual. Everything's energy, frequency, vibration, by the way. You guys probably know that. But if they go out of our visual range, which is that range right there, you won't see them anymore. However, if they get out of that visual range, you might still be able to see them. They still might, depends if they're going interdimensional or not. Interdimensional means they step out of our third dimensional environment and density and get somewhere else where time don't exist as we perceive it. And Paul Dirac got the Nobel Prize in 1933 for antimatter, which is the direct exchange between energy and matter. And that's a fact. That could happen. And it was proven by CERN in 2012, 12 years ago, I guess it was. And that's when they sent a particle through that hadron collider, and that particle ended up turning into energy. I mean, you can't see energy, but you can sense it, and they detected it. So anyway, can these things disappear? They can go out of our visual range. Well, the only problem is, I think some of them stay outside of our visual range, but they still can make prints in the ground. I've heard a lot of reports that they were watching a chocolate factory being made. They couldn't see anything making it. So that would tell me that they're just out of our visual range. However, some of them just pop out. So they have attributes that we have yet to understand. I'm trying to understand it. That's all I know is we're trying to do. But it got me off the practice calls, if you notice that. But it's all been fun.
So like I said earlier, everybody wants to talk about the Sierra sounds and Ron Morehead, but I want to talk about Ron Morehead's hat. I think that's an awesome hat band. And what kind of hat do you wear?
Well, I got several hats, but this hat here has been iconic for me. It's kind of got typed in it several years ago by a production company. These are alligator teeth up there, except for one, and it's a shark. I lost two of them actually. Other one's it's a seashell, but you can't tell hardly from distance. So. But yeah, that's how I got it. So I started wearing it. That's why I got it on now. And, otherwise, people don't know who I am. So that's how I go cognito. Just keep that off.
Ron Morehead, the icon. I know you guys spent a lot of time in the Sierra camp, up in the Sierra Nevadas, and had a lot of strange experiences, metal sounds, and of course, the Sierra sounds themselves. But what was the strangest experience you had at the Sierra camp?
Oh, that's a hard one. A lot of them, they were all strange. All the things you couldn't understand. And we weren't dummies. None of us were up there. I mean, that's not really smart, but he's always trying to put a finger on it. It's like trying to nail Jello to the wall. I mean, it just can't figure out how they did what they did. And a lot of it, they would make sounds that you couldn't, out there, like our camp being tore apart, and barrels that we packed in there with mules were all being dumped out and strung out. And you go out there after all the commotion stopped and nothing's changed. Well, how are you supposed to express that to somebody who don't know what? If I don't preface it with quantum physics. In quantum physics, well, they either had to hypnotize us all so we all heard the same thing, which I don't know, because I think they have to get in all our heads the frequency to do that stuff. And or they do go interdimensional and get out of it, and you just think you're hearing that, but not through hypnosis. That's why I need some caffeine.
Yeah.
My Dr. Pepper. But we've had that. I've had tuning fork sound that I've talked about a lot. It's about the tuning fork is daytime, and it's really a big whirling sound, like a piano when they tune a piano, the tuning sound, the vibration. You look around, you can't see it anyway. You can't find the source of it, so you don't know what that was all about unless it's a cloaked spaceship. And I did see a UFO up there one time, slowly moving, big blue ball coming down from the sky, slowly. I say slowly. It wasn't a falling star. This thing was like a big blue ball, and I lost it behind the trees, of course.
No. Yeah, we know about the orbs, Ron.
Yeah. I still have trouble with the orbs.
Well, plus, there was orbs up there too smaller. So, well, they're just energy, in my opinion. They're just energy. And everything is energy. We're energy. Vibrating at a frequency. Go ahead.
Yeah. I know your first trip to the Sierra camp was in 1971, and you've been there off and on up into the 2015. How often on your trips up to the Sierra camp did you actually have some type of activity?
Well, the biggest activity was in 1972. I didn't keep track of the times we had activity. It was quite regular in the early 70s. The last trip up there was 2018, when I went with David Pilates and his filmer. They wanted to film the camp. Everybody's been trying to get there to film it. They interviewed me there at the campsite, and that's in the missing 401, the 100. And there's a 15-minute section in there that you can see. I think it's free now, you can watch it. But that shows a bolt of light. I say bolt, it's probably 3-4 foot long, glowing, just working its way through the trees, from way over here to way over there. And we watched it for quite a while. I mean, probably about a minute. And that's a long time for a Bigfoot. Of course, this wasn't a Bigfoot. We don't know what to think about it, but it was moving through the trees, below. We're on kind of a slant there at the camp, and it was below the skyline of the mountains that were behind us there. So probably 40, 50 yards away. And that was, in my opinion, just a form of energy sticking on. And I've heard other reports where they've seen orbs turn into a Bigfoot or a Bigfoot turn into an orb. Because, again, if they learn how to conquer this matter and energy interchanging, like Einstein said, you find the frequency of anything, you can alter its matter. I think that's how miracles are done. And people call them miracles. It's just a matter of learning how to get the frequency. We can't do it with our vocal mechanism, but I'm wondering if maybe these things go out of our visual perception. And that may be what they're doing. I've heard reports, like I say, of these things just disappearing right in front of somebody's eyes. And some of them are very, very credible. They're not all, from too much drugs or something.
Ron, did you ever actually see one of the Bigfoot in the Sierra camp while you was there?
Yeah. Yes. 1974. 3 years after the first encounters. And that's the night I recorded them. And I got to see what was making the sound that night. That's what they call the samurai cry. And Bill and I were just two of us in camp. And it comes streaking down through the trees, just running very, very rapidly, very fast. I couldn't give you details. It was probably 8, 9 foot tall. And we had another one, an adolescent and a female, down by the creek, which we were chattering to the two of them. I think the adolescent was getting a little too bold, and this is my opinion. But the male went down there too. I called him the male because he had the big, deep voice. And the female and the young ones down there arguing about something. They started yelling out at me, and I started yelling back, trying to mimic what they were saying. But I think if I didn't know more than about what I was dealing with at the time, I might have been scared, but I wasn't scared. We've been dealing with them already for 3 years, 71. So it was an exciting night. We all had guns though, but we never planned on using them unless we had to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
Do you think that Sasquatch tried to imitate you guys, your language, like maybe a type of Proto-English?
That's possible. Crypto language seems to think it's a mix of several languages, but it's their own language, whatever it is. But I've had Cheyenne tell me there's some Cheyenne words in there. I've had different Native people tell me there's that kind of language, that kind of. I've had people come to me and say, I know what they're saying. Well, you know, if you don't have some kind of qualifications behind you, and you just say somebody said this, you don't know. You don't know what you're representing. You don't know until they tell me the actual context of everything that went on that night. I'm not going to work with them. Where Scott Nelson's more scientific. It's not science. It's actually an art. Cryptolinguist is an artist form. They're trained specifically to try to understand languages. So I think it's possible because they've been around probably watching people at these campsites for ages, eons, and they have probably picked up some words and they try to communicate. They could have been, but I don't know. I got some pretty good recordings that suggest by the intonation of it that they were trying to communicate something to me, but to this day, I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wish I did. I wish I did. I wish I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been bugging me ever since.
I know last year at the Smoky
They
Mountain.
probably told me to be on.
Go ahead, Ron.
It's probably, when we finish that. This delay is kind of throwing me a little bit, but it's probably telling me to be on your show tonight or this evening.
Wow, that really is a delay.
Yeah. I know last year at the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot Festival in Townsend, Tennessee, I spoke with you, and you said that you had wished you had spoken to the Sasquatch when you were mimicking them in 1974. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, when they were yelling out at me and asked a question, you can hear this on the tapes I've got. I tried to mimic them back. I didn't know what I was saying, but I was just trying to mimic them back. I got some pretty good responses, but to this day, I don't know what they were actually saying. I don't know what I was trying to say, but I should have just paid attention better. If I'd known what I know today, I could have thought a little bit more. But we were still looking for the ape in the woods, like so many people are. You know, just a flesh and blood ape in the woods. These things are flesh and blood. When they're in our three-dimensional environment, they live by our three-dimensional rules. Anything does. Even the Anunnaki, when they got here, they did that. And I got ahead of myself real quick in my brain anyway. But they can be shot. They eat. They procreate. They do everything that we do. But they're not all the same. All these reports all over the world are not all the same. You can't categorize just here's a Bigfoot. Our tracks are over the years are all the same configuration, 5 toes right across there, and very large compared to the Patterson track. Patterson all have it. They all look for the mid-tarsal break, like Meldrum talks about, and yeah, a lot of them have that because a lot of them, probably a percentage of them probably crossbred with indigenous people over the eons of time. And that's in Native American War too. How they do. A lot of them become more human-like now, and I think that's what the Patty and the Bluff Creek represents. What we had up there, I don't know that it had been that way though, because even though they could be hybrids, that doesn't mean they're part human. But these were part human. What we dealt with, because they have human components. Language is important. I've had people tell me they heard language. They heard their dog's name being called out in the woods, and their dog's not with them at all. And they've heard different chattering going on when no one's around, and these things will play with you too, because they think we think we're a lot smarter than they are. Well, we're not. we think we've only been given dominion on this planet, not dominance, and we're not the King Kongs of this planet. These things are, and when you're in the woods, you're under their gun, they deal with you or they don't. That depends on your frequency. And I say frequency because we all have our individual frequency, and we're all here with that frequency. They can tune into that frequency. They can mind speak to you. Never had that, I don't think, but that's because I'm too analytical. And I've been that way all my life. And I was trying to figure out what they were saying to me, but they weren't talking to my brain, they were talking to my ears. So I think I was just too thick-headed then. I was only 29, and well, I guess I was 30, 31 then when that happened. Anyway, it's quite an adventure.
Yeah.
There.
Gary, do you want me to go ahead and play his song for him?
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, Ron, I made you a song. So we're going to play that and see what you think. You ready? Ready?
In the shadow of the mountains, where the pines touch the sky, Ron Morehead's out there listening to the echoes passing by. The whispers in the darkness, tales of what might be, a figure in the forest that no one else can see. With a tape recorder ready and a hope within his heart, Ron wanders through the wilderness, listening for the start. A rustle in the branches, a call across the night. The Sierra sounds are waiting just beyond his sight. Ron Morehead's chasing echoes through the misty mountain air, searching for the answers in the mystery out there. The call of the unknown, where legends come around. In the depths of Sierra forests, he's found the haunting sounds. Beneath the stars of twilight, where the shadows tend to creep, Ron's faith keeps him searching through nights devoid of sleep. The stories round the campfire of beings tall and strange, their voices in the distance, just beyond our range. Through valleys and the ridges, where the wild things roam, Ron captures every moment, far from hearth and home. The calls and cries of creatures, not quite understood. In the silent Sierra night, he swore he surely would. Ron Morehead's chasing echoes through the misty mountain air, searching for the answers in the mystery out there. The call of the unknown, where legends come around. In the depths of Sierra forests, he's found the haunting sounds. Through the misty mountain air, searching for the answers in the mystery out there. The call of the unknown, where legends come around. In the depths of Sierra forests, he's found the haunting sounds. Found the haunting sounds.
What'd you think, Ron?
Well done.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
Very good. Which one of you guys responsible for that?
That would be Billy.
That's very well done.
Thank
I
you.
need
You
permission
want?
to use
Would
that.
you want a cop? You want a copy of that? I'll send you a
I
copy.
would love a copy of that, but I'd like also your permission to use it on my.
Yes, you can use it.
Thing. Yeah. What instrument? What instrument do you? What instrument do you play, Billy?
I'm sorry.
Did you play on that, or just write it, or what'd you do?
No, I actually had artificial
Did you play on that, or just write it?
Artificial intelligence.
Really?
Yep.
You look real to me.
It sounds real, doesn't it?
Well, that's well done. You did one for. Oh yeah, you guys did one for Scott Nelson too. I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ron, I know while you guys were at the Sierra
send me
camp.
that. You got my email address?
I do. Yep.
Ron, I know while you guys were at the Sierra camp that you
What was
said
the
that you
question?
could, while you all were at the Sierra camp, you said that you could feel a difference in the environment when the Sasquatch were close. Can you describe that?
I'm not sure what you asked me, Gary. I didn't catch it all, but what did we think when they were close to our shelter?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, well, it was a little frightening to start with, but we realized they weren't going to take us away in our sleep bags or eat us or anything like that. So we didn't shoot at them, and we definitely had our guns ready to go if they had torn in a shelter at us. But we just, they never did that. So we just developed a rapport, I think, with them. They realized we weren't going to shoot at them. And so, anyway, Johnson's, I think, got a couple of glimpses of them. My daughter saw them 3 times. I've only got that one glimpse in '74 with Bill, and he's seen the 2 down there by the creek. But they stopped coming around close in 1976. They still come around. You can see evidence that they've been there or been around, but they didn't interact with us like they used to. I think that's because we shot a bear in camp. That's just my opinion. We thought one was where one was up behind us, yelling and doing something up there, and yet our camp was being tore apart. And this was different time than what we thought we heard it being tore apart. It wasn't, but this was really being tore apart. We thought we better look out there and see because we heard one of our pack bags rip. And we thought a lot of those pack bags for our mules. So they had quite a history in Yosemite, actually. Got those from one of the first wranglers in Yosemite who retired. But anyway, we went out there and tried to scare it off 2 or 3 times. The 3rd time out, it wasn't scaring off. It just came back and stood up about 20, 30 feet away, and we shot it and saved our food. But he was ransacking our food. But that's a lesson for us, too. I didn't like that at all, but we did eat it, and we buried the rest of it. Well, we couldn't eat. Not that night, because that was about midnight, and we was all asleep when it woke us up. So anyway, we still see tracks, still find evidence of them. Still strange things happen up there, but not the close-in stuff like we used to have.
Yeah.
I know back in the
Yeah, I got
1970s.
we got recordings that were just a few feet.
I know back in the 1970s when you guys were recording the sounds, you come up with some pretty innovative equipment. Can you describe the equipment that you recorded the Sierra sounds on?
Oh, it wasn't innovative. It was the only thing. It wasn't innovative. It was the only thing you could get in those days. It was cassette recorders, little cassettes, and that's all we had. That's all we used up there. Anyway. Then we took them home. A lot of us did. Bill especially. He would take it home and then transfer it to reel, which you had at home. Al Berry knew better than that because I can't study them if they've been used before. But Bill would take his back up and play over it. You know how you could do that. I think I did that a time or two too. But all mine burned up in a house fire, except for the one in '74, which I sent a copy of it to Alan Berry, and he's the one who encouraged me to write the book, Horses in the Wilderness. And that's all he used too, was a Sony. And I think mine was a little RCA recorder. But they'd fit in your saddlebag, and they're easy to have.
Yep.
I know at one point you guys used mercury switches on your recorders, didn't you?
I did that. I did that. Mercury switches. That's so it would make a sound when you punch it. And you punch it on, record, play. And I didn't want that happening, so I made a little mercury switch. I just turned it over and it would start recording. I pushed the punch it before I went in. So if I hear I'd turn the switch over. That would be silent. And we didn't want to scare them off. But it's crazy because nowadays people aren't recording them very much. They're not out there ready to record. Out there traveling the woods or something. Maybe they're hunting or whatever, but they don't usually think about recording something. The only reason we did is because we were having multiple encounters, which is really hard for a lot of people to understand or take because it's unheard of. I know when Warren Johnson wrote to Ivan Sanderson, cryptolinguist who's passed away now, a 23-page letter, he told him all about the encounter, and Ivan Sanderson sent a copy of it out to Peter Burns in Oregon at the time, and Peter thought the same thing Ivan did. Somebody pulled somebody's leg here, this don't happen, these are apes, they don't mess with people like this. Well, that's when Peter thought the same thing, somebody's hoaxing him or something, but he went ahead and got a hold of Alan Berry down in San Joaquin out Redding, actually, and said, if you want to check this out, here's their contact. So he came down and investigated, came down and interviewed us each individually and together, and we ended up inviting him in, and he was looking for a hoax, so I didn't know that, but when we were out walking or hiking around or something, he was going through our packs and all kinds of things, trying to find out who could be doing this. 8 miles in the wilderness, 8,700 feet elevation, 8,400 feet, and just how they got in and got out without leaving anything other than their Bigfoot tracks was always a puzzle to him. And it was a little bit of a puzzle to us because we knew somebody wasn't messing with us because the Johnson brothers were going up there since 1958, and they just they knew the country like the back of their hand, and we knew who was around, who wasn't, if it was anybody, and they knew a lot. And Warren Johnson passed away several years ago. Alan Berry's also passed away. And anyway, so is Warren's son, Larry. Larry passed away too. And just we're just becoming less and less of us that actually experience it. And I know there's a publishing company now the Renaissance is trying to do a episode on the Sierra Sounds. And so anyway, I hope they complete it. It's really should be good. It's going to take off of my book, Voices in the Wilderness. I have 3 books though, because the Bigfoot thing just took me to where I am today on knowing more about not just Bigfoot, but more about who we are as humans and where it really came from. Because being raised religiously in a biblical environment, I had to find out more about what history says about this. I got into Greek mythology and all kinds of stuff. But when you get into the cuneiform text, that's Mesopotamia, which we're doing to the Sumerians, and that's over thousands and thousands have been transcribed into a language now. They're interpreting what they gave the Sumerians, and you get into the biblical part, which I thought was intriguing because you get something that just takes up a paragraph or two in the Bible. It took 100,000 years in the cuneiform. And you got the King's List in there, which talks about the powerful ones that came down from the sky, and it just parallels what I already believed from the biblical days. But it's more exhaustive. It's right into a lot of stuff. How they gave the Sumerians the kickstart that humanity needed to get where we are today. They weren't supposed to interfere, but they did. They took human form. I'll say that because a lot of people will say they were the Nephilim. Well, I don't know that far. I just know that all that stuff was supposed to be vanished in the flood, but you get into the later on in the text where they were still here 40 years later in the book of Numbers, 1333, I think it is, and how they get here. Well, if they could do it once, they did it again. I mean, we all have free choices in this world. What makes us special is we're made in the image, and that's the Anunnaki. You can call it God. That's what this various. That's what all the people call them back there, because they could do these big things. Probably built the pyramids and a lot of other things. They knew how to disappear, how to live longer. Our telomeres, which is the thing that makes us live so long, has been chopped off 120 years. You know, we don't fused. We don't not supposed to live as long as we used to. But you can even get into biblical days, and all the guys lived 800-900 years back then, until the deluge came, and that's what started the thing over. That's when the Anunnaki trimmed us down a little bit. They thought we were getting too smart. They want us to be like them. Anyway, it goes on and on.
Ron,
For hours on this stuff.
my next question is, did you guys experience any aggressive behavior while you were in the Sierra camps?
Just the sounds, which they may have been directed at one of the other ones. According to another linguist we found that listened to him, she says there was a male and female arguing. And she said because the people didn't want to do something. I don't know if they were arguing or food. She didn't know what they were arguing about, but she knew they were arguing just from the sound. And she's one of only 10 certified interpreters in the state of California, court certified in several languages per hearing. She's retired now, but that was interesting, I thought. And you just hear stuff like that, and it just opens up your mind. I tell you what we got to do as a human race is we got to connect what we think we know up here, but inside of our brain is the pineal gland. The pineal gland reaches directly to the heart. That heart has a feeling. It has when you feel something or sense something, and that goes up your head, your brain. Your brain decides what it wants to do with it. If it wants to be analytical, it can be analytical. If it wants to follow it, it can follow it. But it's going to be conditioned on what we've been taught in schools and through what we've read, what we think we know. It's taught like that. So it goes outside of those parameters. You're probably going to wave it off as a bear or something like that, where if you just listen to your heart and go by your heart's feeling, your gut feeling, I call it, you're going to know what to do and when to do it. It's going to tell you that, because this little pineal gland up there is our access to the source, whatever the source is. And that's the oneness that we're all supposed to be. I like to say that on one of these programs because it's very important. It gets into how special we are as humans.
What are your thoughts on quantum physics, and how does that fit into your Bigfoot research?
Oh, it's about everything. Quantum physics is a science. It's not a fad. It's not a religion. It's not a foo-foo. It's not a woo-woo. It's a fact. And the physicists all over the world acknowledge it. And Einstein used it. 1918, Max Planck got the Nobel Prize for it. And what it is, it's how everything works according to Dr. Christopher Blair at West Texas A&M. So everything works from the minute part of our body, atom all the way through the cosmos. Quantum physics is at work. It's a higher dimensional. It's supposed to be 11 dimensions, but when you get into quantum physics, you find we only live in three-dimensional environment. Anyone could tell me how far it is to the end of the universe, because classical physics based on Newtonian style is from 1687. In 1687, people were taught to believe everything is manageable, material or physical, measurable, predictable. That's not true. Everything's not. Just everything in our third dimensional environment is. And we got to step out of that and expand our brain because you can reach those other dimensions while you're still embodied in this embodiment. But if you don't, and if you've been harming people or hurting people or killing people, whatever you guys do on the side when that plate comes in front of you, you're going to have to experience that in another lifetime or something, because you can't get by with that. The only thing that's going to raise our frequency is our personal vibration. And you got to get out of that and get into love and compassion for everything and everyone. Don't be a victim for anything. As a victim, you're just taking what lesson you're trying to learn, or you should be learning, like it's against you. Well, it's for you. Everything you experience is actually for you. And you'll find me getting off the subject like this quite a bit, because that's where I think this Bigfoot thing has led me to, is who we are as humans. We have dominion. That's what's been given to us. That's why nothing's supposed to interfere with us. But these things you do, they have free choice too. And we have to respond to everything we could come in front of us. We've got to respond to things in a positive way, in a loving way, caring way. Some old woman comes to you and says she needs help across the street or something, and yet there's $1 million sitting on this other corner over here. You kind of want to run over and get the $1 million. You've been trained to think that that's going to be better for you, but maybe helping the old lady is a better thing to do. I tell her by that because I'm in my 80s
now. I know while you guys were in the Sierra camps that there was a lot of stuff that Bigfoot ended up taking. I know it ate a pot of stew that you had one time. What was the most common food item that Bigfoot took from you guys?
Probably spam, canned spam. We take the mules in and carry that because it lasts forever. You can fry it and put it within. Yeah, but that was probably the most common. The stew was made when we had fresh meat from deer hunting or something. And I'm going to tell you that story if you want to hear it. That's an interesting story.
Sure.
We left the stew out there. I left some for them, and it was still on the stove. And earlier that day, I made some Jello. You put the Jello on Jello, put it in the snow, and it'll gel up, you know. So we had some Jello left over, a big serving spoon in the stew, stuck in the pan of stew, and they started making a commotion that night, and come out there afterwards, and all the stews were gone. All the Jello was gone, but the serving spoon was over in the Jello. Well, that's kind of a cool one.
That is pretty interesting. Did you guys actually find quite a few footprints? I know you made some casts, but did you find a lot of footprints while y'all were there?
Yeah. Well, it's been what you call a lot. It's decomposed granite for the most part, unless it's been snowing. You can find it in snow. But we found footprints, yeah. And they weren't common because a lot of pine needles, a lot of, you can tell where they've been sometimes, but usually that's because of the voices they made the night before. You find out where they were or where you think they were. But yeah, we found footprints. We cast them. I got one big good one, which I got on my website, I think it is.
Did you ever find
one, but I give the other to my daughter or my son or somebody.
Did you ever find any stick structures or any, like maybe dens or anything that they may have used?
I've been asked that before. We weren't looking for that, to be honest with you. There might have been some around, but we weren't looking. The most interesting thing that I think maybe, I don't know, but I never put it together then, was our horses. Braids were, manes were kind of braided. I always thought they got stuck in a twig or something and wrapped their head around it, And maybe that's what happened, but we didn't question any of it at that time. We were just waiting for the voices to come in and see one. And then, so stick structures or any kind of a little tent they might have made or something like that. No, I personally think that if they stay in this dimension, which some of them do, I'm sure, if they enjoy this third dimensional entity, the density that we have, I think they go down below or get in a cave or under the ground somewhere. There's a lot of cave structures that we don't even know about.
Yeah.
And but otherwise, the we never could find out where they might have had a bed or something. Found bear beds all the time, but nothing from a Bigfoot.
I know you mentioned the horse's hair sometimes had been braided. Was there any signs of aggression or anything towards the horses and mules you all had up there?
I'm not hearing you, Gary.
I said, did you have any activity, types of aggression towards the mules and the horses that you guys had up there?
No type of aggression at all. In fact, the horses and mules just stood still. These things were making their noises. At attention, though. I mean, it's like, I don't know how. They probably did something to their frequency, their paws, because I've been froze up there a couple of times. I mean, just really zapped. And that's when something hit you. You don't know what it is. And I told it to a scientist. He said, we don't want to hear about your fear. I said, what fear? We weren't afraid of. We were walking over this tree where we thought they were. For one, it was, there was mouth and all. But I was going to see him run away. Well, he never left. We just got froze about 15 feet from the tree, Warren Johnson and I. And I mean, it was like hair standing on the back of your neck froze. Both at the same time. We weren't talking to each other, nothing like that. He just couldn't move forward. And he said, well, I can go back, but I can't go forward. I said, I can't either. And that happened to me one other time in the woods. Just strolling along there by myself. We was hunting, but we were all spread out 100 yards apart, you know. All of a sudden, I just got zapped. I couldn't see a source of it. I looked around, you know, what caused that? I couldn't move. Nothing. I couldn't see a thing. So they do stuff like that. But I think it's all about frequency. Everything's about frequency, energy, vibration. According to physics, everything is. I don't think you'll find anybody that argues with that because it just, you know. I still think if we could ever find the range of their vocal mechanism, we could probably get to the frequency that causes them to go out of our density.
I know, speaking of frequency.
I never said the one braided their hair. I said it looked like one did braid their hair. I don't know. Until you see what does it, you don't really know what does it.
Yeah.
But it looked like it had been braided. But it could have been, you know, twig or something.
I know you talk a lot about frequencies. Even the Earth gives off a frequency. I think it's like 7.58 hertz. Did you ever notice a change in the environment while you were hearing these sounds or anything?
Well, I think not in the environment, but I didn't know anything about Earth's frequency then. It's 7.83, I think it is. But our density goes down to that at night when you're asleep. I think that's why most encounters happen at night, because we pause, we get into the alpha state, sometimes the theta state, and we're at that low vibration again. And that's where our deeper dreams come in. Well, actually, that's a delta state down there. But the theta state and the alpha state is what we days on where you're not quite asleep, but you're not awake either. And yeah, things can happen then. And I think it's got something to do with frequency, Earth's frequency. Earth is also trying to raise its frequency. And it's, according to, well, don't need to get into that. That's all theoretical. A lot of this stuff is theoretical. Everybody says quantum physics is theoretical, but it's not. It's just things you don't understand. I'll call it paranormal, but it's not. It's just quantum physics explains a lot of the paranormal. Not the woo. That's still your dog or mine?
That's mine. Well, Billy, that's all I got.
I'm not going to worry about it anymore.
Ron, we appreciate you coming on. I mean, this has been great.
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that, Bill. I appreciate being with you guys. It's a lot of fun. I appreciate just being able to talk about this, because I don't try to prove anything to anybody. I just tell people what I think, and take it or leave it like everybody will. But I got 3 books on my website, ronmorehead.com. And they're doing that film they're trying to do now is on this book here. This is my chronicle. And it comes with a download of some of the sounds I talk about in here, so you can hear the sound I'm talking about. And I got the quantum Bigfoot and Bigfoot Unveiled. I just figured out the Bigfoot Unveiled. But it's they're doing well, and just got to go to my website, ronmorehead.com. 10.
Yep.
I actually
read
have
one
all
there,
3 of the
either
books
as a download
autographed
or
by the author.
get the paperback. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. And I really appreciate
will
that download that song that you kind of put through there.
I will send that to your email.
Okay. And I can use it.
Yep. You can use it.
Should I give you the credit, Billy Willard, or the...
You can just say Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Yeah. I give you the credit, Billy Willard, or Sasquatch Radio.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right, Ron. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much for being on the show. We really do appreciate it. And if you want to watch it, it'll be on live Monday night.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you got to edit out some of the quiet stuff in between.
Yeah, I know. Well, again, thanks, Ron. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you having me on. Really, I do.
Yeah.
It's what I do now.
Yep. Well, you have a great night, and we'll see you soon. Good night.
All right. Hope so. Good night.